Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and thank you for tuning in to Penguin Live TV. We have a bit of an early start tonight because you can see it's a bit rainy and dark out there, so we're expecting our penguins to show up a little bit earlier tonight. My name is Stephen. I'm going to be your host tonight. I'm going to be moving the camera around trying to find all those wonderful penguins crossing the beach for you. And joining me, we have Emma.
Hi everyone, I'm Emma. I am reading your questions which you are posting onto YouTube tonight. So please send us lots of questions and I will be giving those to Stephen. So fire away. Thank you.
Thanks, Emma. And if you are tuning in on Facebook, you can put your questions in there. We have a team of rangers who are going to be typing out a response in the next 24 hours. So feel free to use whichever stream you like, but we're going to try and answer your questions as best we can tonight. Now, as I said, as the start, it's a bit stormy, it's a bit dark, it's a bit rainy tonight. Perfect penguin weather, but it does mean they might come out a little bit sooner. And tonight, as you're looking down this beach, you see that white building in the top left corner. That is where the penguin counters are sitting. We have Paul and Ebony tonight. They are our two penguin counters, and their job is to count all the penguins crossing the beach. But as we're looking across this beautiful landscape, I do want to take the time to acknowledge the land we're on. This would be Malau for the local Bunurong Nation, and we do acknowledge their elders, traditional custodians of the land, both past, present, and emerging. Um, and I think we just heard that there's some penguins at the water's edge. So I'm going to be scanning this beach. Let's keep an eye out. Let me know if you see any penguins in the comments. Because we're going to be keeping an eye out for our penguins. They're not too far away. Had a gut reaction that these guys will be coming out a bit sooner tonight. Oh, don't see any yet, but they'll be there, I'm sure. Oh, there they are, just there in the water. Let's see if I can zoom in on these guys. Look at them swimming around. It's still really bright outside. Despite the storm clouds, the penguins are being a little cautious. These guys think they want to come out yet, but they're going to make sure it's safe. There's no sense in crossing the beach before it's safe because there may be predators around. Oh, look at that. They're just there at the water's edge. Perfect timing. How fantastic is that? Here at the Penguin Parade, we're part of the Phillip Island Nature Parks, and we are a not-for-profit conservation organization. We are at heart here to help protect the environment, help to protect our penguins, and about 1,800 hectares of land here on Phillip Island. That's roughly 20% of Phillip Island that is under our care. And we're not only protecting our penguins, although they are a good focus for us, we also help to protect koalas and other threatened or endangered species we have here on Phillip Island. We have a few koalas at our Koala Conservation Reserve from the bushfires earlier this year. They're under our care. They're being treated and cared for. Hopefully, we'll be able to release some of them back into the wild in the not too distant future. We also have a team of researchers who are going out in the field tonight here in the penguin colony to do some research on eastern barred bandicoots. Now, they're a critically endangered species, our eastern barred bandicoots. I have a little plushie right here. Let me grab that. Cute little furry animals like this, roughly this size. They are nocturnal, so the researchers are going out tonight, and they're going to be making sure that our eastern barred bandicoots are doing well here on Phillip Island. We've been working with Melbourne zoos to help their numbers increase because at their lowest, there was only about 20 or so eastern barred bandicoots left in the world, which is not a lot. But the Melbourne Zoo started up a breeding program. Zoos Victoria started a breeding program, and they worked with us to get a bit more space for them. And we've released them here on Phillip Island, and they're doing pretty well. But we'll know after the researchers are out tonight how well they're doing. So we do a lot of work protecting not only our penguins, but other animals as well. We want to thank you for tuning in tonight because you get to see the results of our efforts of protecting our penguins, and hopefully large numbers of penguins will be coming out of the ocean tonight. And if you wanted to go and help our little penguins and help maybe some other animals as well, there's a link just below this video where you'll be able to go to our Penguin Foundation. It's a charity organization, and all of the donations they receive, or if you wanted to adopt a penguin or become a penguin pal, there's different choices there. The money that we get from those donations are going back into helping penguins, into helping other native animals here on Phillip Island. It's a wonderful thing to do, and we've received so many donations since we started this live stream. It's just a bit overwhelming for us here. All right, let's have a look at these guys, though. I'll pay some more attention to our penguins here, hiding in the rocks. They're a little bit nervous, aren't they? They haven't come out of the water yet. Most nights I've been watching this stream, or I've been doing this stream, the penguins, they appear on the water's edge and they just start marching across that beach. They're in a rush to get home. But these guys, they're hesitating. They don't have the large numbers they might be expecting. And because it's so bright outside, they're feeling a bit nervous, and that's good. A nervous penguin is likely a safe penguin. You know, a brave penguin is a threat to himself or herself. So it's not a wise penguin who is a brave penguin because they're quite small. These little guys that you see on your screen are called the little penguins. They're the smallest penguins in the world, about 33 centimeters tall. They only weigh about 1 kilogram in weight. And they're also the only penguin species in the world that only come out at nighttime, after the sun has gone down. And the reason for that is because there are birds of prey try to grab a penguin and take him home for dinner. They're so small that a big bird of prey can swoop down and grab a little penguin and take him home for dinner. So our penguins have learned over the generations that it's not safe to come out in the daytime, so they wait until nighttime before it's safe to cross. And these guys, you can really notice their postures. They're hunkered down low. Let's see if I can zoom in a bit more. They're going back into the water. You can see the penguins that are just bent over, keeping as low to the ground as they can. That is a nervous posture for our penguins. They don't feel safe. They don't feel confident. So they're keeping a low profile. But I'm sure if a larger group was to join this group of penguins, they start standing up a bit more confidently, stick their chests out and cross that beach a bit more bravely. But with such small numbers, they're keeping low down to the ground, keeping that low profile, trying to make sure that they are safe. Let's get those guys back in focus. That's not too bad. Hopefully this camera will help me. It is another rainy night, so we have a lot of water on the lens of the camera again, so it's having a hard time focusing through all the rain. Oh, these guys, they're moving around, but they're not too sure. They're going from rock to rock, aren't they? They were in one batch of rocks, and they thought, okay, let's go to the next one. Maybe they'll move to the next one. They're very stealthily making their way across the beach. Oh, one of them's not feeling too confident. Looks like he might be sticking at the back there. They're keeping close together. This is a bit of a scary beach cross tonight for our little penguins. Now, I do feel that they're going to be quite secure, our penguins. We do have a bit of a windy, rainy night, and any birds of prey are not likely to be hanging around in this weather. It's not ideal hunting weather for those birds of prey. The winds are going to be buffeting them around a bit too much, so hopefully our penguins are safe, even though they've come out so early tonight.
I have a question from one of our viewers. Is there a reason why there might be different penguin numbers at different spots along the beach?
Oh, that's a great question. So is there a reason why we get different penguin numbers across our beach? Now, we've been lucky on the Penguin Live TV. We're watching the busiest section of the beach. This is our Penguin Highway section where quite a vast majority of our penguins come out of the ocean every night. And there's different numbers across different parts of the beach. Let me zoom out. These penguins are not doing too much, and I might be able to, whoa, never mind, there's a nice big group behind them. I was wondering what they were doing. Now they might start crossing the beach. But right here, we've got a large section of the beach because this is the easiest access point to one of the largest areas of our penguin colony. So these guys are definitely coming out in numbers over on this end of the beach to have some easy access into the colony. The other pathways that we have far fewer penguins because they have a much smaller access area, where the places they're going to are much smaller in size. There's not as many burrows there, and these penguins are always going back to their same burrows. All right, look at these guys just crossing the beach here. Now we've just had an official start of the count. These guys are bravely crossing this beach. They're not going to be running back into the water. So there we go, a start time tonight at 7:45. That's a few minutes earlier than yesterday. The last night, our penguins started crossing the beach at 7:49, and we had a really good number of penguins last night. What was it? It was 3,053 penguins last night, which is a lot. It's hard to tell people how lucky they are to see so many penguins because even 5 years ago, getting over 3,000 penguins was an unheard of number of penguins. I remember my first night when I was working here. I started working here about 5, 6 years ago. We saw 3,000 penguins, and it was mind blowing. It's just unbelievable how much our penguins are growing in numbers here. It's just fantastic to see. Oh, little bunny there hopping across the screen as well. We're not too fond of bunnies around here. As cute as they are not a native species. We don't want them causing too much of an impact on our penguin colony. You know, a bunny here or there is not going to cause any damage, but once they start getting into those ridiculously high numbers that bunnies tend to do, they can cause quite a bit of damage. So we try to control their numbers, make sure they don't grow out of control, make sure they don't cause any harm to our penguins. Here they go, our penguins diving into the water. Let's see if I can keep up with them here in the water. Now these penguins, they swim roughly 4 kilometers an hour, maybe 5 kilometers an hour at a cruising speed, just a walking pace. But if they get spooked, they can swim much faster, 6, 7 kilometers an hour. They are quite speedy. All right, let's zoom out a little bit. These guys have started their journey home. There they go, underneath our Penguins Plus stand, and they'll be rounding the corner very soon. Let's see if I can get that on the camera. I'm sure they're going to be rounding that corner. There they come, coming around the corner. So as we're looking on this camera, you can see the underground viewing window on the left and Penguins Plus just above. Now we are open to the public on our weekend, so you are more than welcome to come down. I think there might even be a couple of tickets left for sale this weekend. So hopefully some people purchase those tickets. Hopefully you'll be able to sit right there and watch the penguins walking underneath your feet. Look at those little guys just waddling their way home. Feeling happy in this lovely penguin weather, nice rainy weather. All right, let's see if there's any more on our beach. Couple more on the rocks here. I'm gonna zoom out and see if there's any more. Now it's still really, really bright outside. And that is a massive group right there at the water's edge. My goodness. Wow. So they are coming out early tonight, which is fantastic to see. I love that little penguin that's right above my head in the top right corner, right in front of the camera, wondering where he's supposed to be going. Wonder if he's lost. Not too sure. That's all right. These other penguins will no doubt catch up to him and shoo him along. All right, we're going to get you guys in the comments to write how many penguins you think might be in this group of penguins, because there's quite a few. Let's have a look. Now, sometimes I'm lucky and I get to count the penguins. There's, I think it's over 100 there, but I couldn't tell you. Not my job to count the penguins tonight, and I'm grateful for that because there's going to be a lot of penguins coming in tonight, I think. Wow, look at those guys. Now, Ebony is the one who's counting the penguins on this pathway. Paul is counting penguins down another side of the beach, so poor Ebony is going to have to count all the penguins down here. But lucky for her, it's low tide tonight, and she gets to have a lot of opportunity to count these penguins. She gets a long time to sit there counting them. She might be able to count them 2 or 3 times, make sure she's got that number as close as possible to correct.
A question from Anne. Why do we have so many penguins at this time of year?
Great question. So from Anne, she's wondering why we have so many penguins at this time of year. And it's because of the breeding season. There are chicks in the colony. There are eggs in the colony. I think, I'm trying to remember the update I got in an email earlier today. I think it's roughly 90% of our penguin birds are in an active breeding attempt. Maybe they have chicks or eggs inside, which means that a lot of penguins are coming home to take care of their babies. Now, the babies need to be fed hopefully every day. They don't need to be fed every day, but every few days in order to grow up big, strong, and healthy. And so these penguins have to come home more often to feed their babies. And if mom or dad are sitting on the egg, they don't want to starve on the eggs for too long. So they're going to swap positions every few days. But during our winter months, when there's not as many babies or there are no babies in the colony, these penguins, they don't need to come home. They might come home once every couple of weeks, once a month. Um, so our numbers drop quite drastically with fewer and fewer penguins coming home. A lot of the penguins we're seeing tonight, they might be different penguins. Some of them are probably the same. But yeah, we do have quite a few penguins who might be new ones this evening. There they go. These guys are not stopping for anything. They are on a journey home, slipping and sliding all over these rocks, falling over their own feet, jumping into the pond. All right. Emma's just radioing Ebony down here, and she's wondering how many penguins have just crossed there. How many did we have, Emma? 235. Well, I was not wrong when I said there was more than 100, but that wouldn't have been a very good count if I wrote that down on our counting sheet tonight. Luckily, Ebony's there with better eyes than I have, counting those penguins, keeping a close watch on them. 235 penguins in that group. That is fantastic. Those are really good sizes of groups. And sometimes in our winter months when we have fewer penguins, I have seen less than 235 penguins in an entire night. I'm sitting here for 50 minutes watching the penguins crossing the beach, and there's been less than that amount of penguins. I'm just going to see if there's any more. Oh my goodness, there's another good group. And the top right of the screen, you might notice that group walking by the Penguin Highway as well. Wow, look at them just trooping on by. They are out in numbers tonight. Now this group, this is a big group as well. Is it the same size as the last group, I wonder? It's going to be close. I don't know if we're going to bother Ebony too much tonight. She's going to have a hard time counting these penguins, and we don't want to radio her every 5 minutes asking her how many penguins she's seen. She's got a hard enough job already, so we might leave her in peace for the rest of the night because she's got a difficult job. Make sure you send her your love because don't envy her tonight. Wow, and look at these guys just barreling over the rocks. They're actually swimming up a little creek here that we have. We got a little flowing creek. This water comes all the way from Swan Lake, a beautiful place to visit if you're ever down here on Phillip Island. And when the lake overflows, it forms a creek that goes all the way down to the Penguins Plus stand, down to the beach and over these rocks. And it's great for our penguins because they love the water and they see this little creek flowing here and they think they've got an easy time getting home. Another big group right above my head going across the Penguin Highway on their journeys home. A lot of these guys are going back home to their babies, which is just so exciting. There's nothing cuter than a baby penguin. Let's keep an eye out here. We're going to see that big group of penguins just barrel their way through these resting penguins. They're not too polite when they're just barreling through, but that's okay. They'll just shove their way through, make it their journey home starting.
A question from the Ruggles family. Why do penguins only come home every so often? Why not all the time? Why aren't they always on land?
Good question from the Ruggles family. They were wondering why don't penguins come home every day? Why do they spend more time out in the ocean? And that's because all of the penguins' food comes from the ocean. So anytime that a penguin is on land, they're not getting any food at all. They're starving as soon as they come back to land, or fasting, if you will. They might not be starving. But if you're going to spend a good 12 hours on land overnight on land, you hopefully have a full belly. But if you're going to be spending, maybe a couple of days on land taking care of the kids while the partner is out getting food for them, you're going to be very hungry afterwards. So you have to go into the ocean, and sometimes you don't find enough food out in the ocean. These penguins, they don't have a GPS to the supermarket. They don't know where the fish is in the ocean. They're swimming to some hot spots where they've known fish to be before, but fish tend to move, and it's mostly sometimes a matter of luck. Sometimes a penguin will be just swimming around, unable to find fish for a day or 2 days, and they're not going to come home until they have a full belly. No sense in starving yourself because you can't feed a baby if you're starving yourself. So you've got to make sure that you're taking care of yourself in order to bring enough food home for the babies. If the parents don't manage to survive, the penguins starve to death, the babies are not going to do well either. So it's best that the parents make sure that they're taking care of themselves. Whoa, look at these guys. Some of them are getting ready to go. Our diving board is becoming less popular. The penguins are having a hard time scampering across that wet, grassy little peninsula there. I keep seeing them slipping down the sides. We'll see if this guy wants to do it. I never get tired of watching. Oh, he's fell down the side. No penguin divers tonight. But lots of penguin swimmers happily just swimming their little pathways home. It's much easier when you're a penguin to swim home than it is to walk home. Very cruisy. You can see how penguins just dive underwater and pop back up just like that one did, giving his little penguin buddy a bit of a fright there. Playing with each other in the water. Oh, that guy's in a bit of a hurry. This one, not so much. Fantastic. Let's zoom out and see if we can spot any more penguins around. There's a few on the Penguin Highway. I haven't seen too many going up the hill this way, but that might be because the grass is so lush and tall and green. There's one penguin just down here. He looks like he might be outside of a burrow. Now, when our penguins get home in the evening, they're not going to be hiding inside their burrow all night long, even though it's raining. Our penguins don't mind the rain that much. It's not a heavy rain tonight, but they want to spend the night outside socializing. Now, the only reason a penguin's going to go inside of its burrow is if it's got some chicks inside. It needs to keep warm, or the chicks are hungry inside or need to be protected. Once those chicks start growing up a little bit more, the parents are going to start encouraging them out of the burrow. The parents are going to stand outside of the burrow, not feeding their chicks, making sure that they start coming out and start working for their food. They got to make sure their chicks go up strong and healthy. I'm going to swap over cameras here, sorry. There we go. They got to make sure that their chicks grow up strong and healthy, and they want to make sure that they're able to move around on their own. They develop those good muscles. And the best way to do that is to make the babies work for their food. So the parents stand outside of the burrow, making sure that the chicks know that they're there, and start encouraging them outside of the burrow. They start making the babies chase them around, trying to get all the access to the food. And if the babies grow up lazy, overfed, they're never going to leave mom and dad's house. They're going to be sleeping in their house until they're 2 years old, and mom and dad are stuck with a couple of invalid kids at home. So best way to make sure your kids want to get out of the house, moms and dads, is make sure they learn how to take care of themselves.
Evening, Stephen. I have a question from Mel regarding when adults come home to feed chicks, will they ever feed other penguins' chicks?
Oh, that's an interesting question. So there are different species of penguins in the world who might try and take another penguin's chick if they lose their own. The emperor penguins have been noted at doing that. Our little penguins are not as interested in raising other penguins, babies. They're only going to raise their own. They're going to desperately try not to feed another penguin's babies. And sometimes it's really cute. It's fun to watch. Sometimes when the babies get left alone at home for the first time, our penguins always have two chicks or two eggs. When they get left alone for the first time and you got two burrows next to each other and the babies have been left alone, they might actually merge into one burrow. So you might have 4 chicks in one burrow, or even 6 chicks in a single burrow if enough penguins, baby penguins, find each other and they start snuggling to each other for a bit of comfort and warmth and socialization, a bit of safety together, I feel. And the poor parents, when one of them comes home to a family of 6 chicks, and they all start rushing out, attacking mom and dad, even if it's not their mom or dad, looking for food. That poor adult penguin has maybe 4 or 5 chicks, all roughly the same size as itself, sometimes even bigger than itself, attacking it for food. I do not envy those parents. But no, they're only going to feed their own chick. They want to give their own offspring the best chance at surviving. They're not going to raise another penguin. And that's mainly because our penguins don't have any difficulty at having chicks. They can have more than once a year if they so choose. So they might as well just try again and have their own chicks and raise their own babies rather than trying to adopt another one. There's no sense in that for a penguin. Look at those guys. I love just watching them diving underwater and getting a bit of a speed boost when they do. Fantastic. I'm going to swap back over to this full screen in the top right corner. Just love how many penguins are coming home tonight. It's unreal. These numbers are just simply fantastic. It's really hard to convey just how different it is from our winter months, when it's a little more quiet, a little more serene for our penguins. There's no longer this mad dash to get home and feed their chicks, a lot of hubbub in the colony where it's quite chaotic in our summertime. In winter, when there's no babies around, the penguins are a little more lazy coming home. They'll take more rest stops. There's not quite as much noise and not quite as much smell in the colony as well. You don't want to be a penguin who's sleeping here on the penguin highway, because a big horde of penguins might just trample over top of you if you take a nap here on the penguin highway. But in wintertime, it's quite common to see a penguin just lying down here on the highway, having a quick nap on their journey home. Oh, fantastic. The penguins just keep coming.
Stephen, I have another question which is very interesting. Do we monitor our penguins? Do we tag them? And how many do we do if we do?
That's a great question. So somebody is wondering, how do we monitor our penguins? And absolutely we do. It's very important for us to monitor our penguins to make sure that they are healthy. This is a great number of penguins coming out here. And I can tie that back into our penguin counters. We've been doing our penguin count since 1968. Back then, there was only, I think, the one ranger who was counting penguins, roughly where we're counting them today. And we were wondering how many penguins are coming home each night. It's good information to know how healthy the colony is, what the changes are throughout the seasons. And we do monitor our penguins. We have a few research sites in the colony where our scientists, researchers will go out and give health checks to our penguins, weigh them, learn if they're breeding or not. And we do that by putting microchips in our penguins. Not all of our penguins have a microchip. It's a tiny, tiny little microchip, the same kind of microchip you put in a dog or a cat that you have at home. And that microchip has an ID tag for our penguins, so we know who they are. So when we give our penguin a health check, we scan their microchip, we learn what their number is, and we can put that name, if you will, their identifying tag, into our health records. Each of our penguins has a health record where we know their history of checkups. If they've had any problems in the past, if they've been underweight, overweight, those kinds of things. And about 5% of our penguins have a microchip. It's a very rough estimate to how many penguins have a microchip because we're constantly microchipping new penguins. Our penguins don't live forever, so when one passes away, we might lose some. But yes, we're trying to keep a track of our penguins. And about 5% of them have microchips. It gives us a good estimate on how the whole colony is doing. Oh, another group coming out of the water here. Well, they've already come out of the water, but crossing the beach. Poor Ebony, she's going to have a non-stop night of counting. Sometimes in winter, it can be quite a cruisy night being the penguin counter when you only have maybe 300-400 penguins to count over the whole night. But Ebony, she's going to have no breaks tonight. I don't even think she's going to have a chance to drink out of her water bottle. She's going to be so busy counting all of these penguins.
I have a great question. I love this question. Do the parents recognize their chicks or do the chicks recognize their parents?
That is a very good question. So who recognizes who? Do the chicks recognize the parents or do the parents recognize the chicks? I'm pretty sure that the chicks don't recognize mom and dad. These chicks are less than 2 months old. They think any adult penguin is their parents. And that happens all the time when a parent, that not their own parent, but when an adult penguin walks past a burrow with chicks inside, doesn't matter how many penguins walk by, those chicks are outside asking the adult for food and harassing that poor adult looking for food, even though it's not their own parents. Our baby penguins are optimists, is what I like to say. Even though they know they're not going to be fed by a stranger penguin, they don't actually recognize them, so they're just asking every adult for some food. And the parents do recognize their own chicks because they're not going to feed any other baby penguins. They're only going to feed their own. And penguins tend to recognize each other through sound. Not so much by vision, but by the sounds they make. So when the chicks are waiting for mom and dad to come home, they're going to be making those little beep, beep, beep sounds in the colony, like peeping their little hearts out, saying, "Mom, Dad, come feed me, I'm so hungry." And mom and dad, they're going to listen for that. And they're going to be able to identify their chicks in the colony through the sounds they make. All right, so I just got news that we've got about 5 minutes left in the stream. So if you guys have maybe another question you want to ask, give it a chance and give it a comment, and we'll throw it out here. We do have time for maybe one or two more questions this evening, but before we get to any more questions, I do want to remind everybody that if you wanted to help us in our endeavor of protecting our penguins and helping the local wildlife here on Phillip Island, just head to the link down below, the Penguin Foundation, where you can donate to our charity organization. You can help out our wildlife clinic, where we take in a bunch of injured animals, lots of injured seabirds, malnourished chicks, and we help raise them back to health again. So feel free to visit that link if you wanted to throw some help our way. We always, ooh, this guy's gonna dive. There we go. I'm always happy when a penguin dives off the diving board. That's so much fun.
Well, we've only got a couple of minutes left, Stephen. Can I just let everyone know about an event we're doing on Saturday night? After our live stream, we have a live question and answer with our very own Phillip Island Nature Parks data analyst, Ross. And we have some live music from Felix from the Cat Empire, Alice Sky, and the Orb Weavers. So that's this Saturday night after the live stream.
Oh, that's great. So make sure you tune into the live stream on Saturday night. We do have Rusko, who used to be a parade ranger here with me. He used to work with me before he got to be a data analyst here. And this guy, I swear, he has basically my dream job. He used to work with penguins with me before he moved on to a different area of the organization. And now he gets to basically fly drones around and use technology to help us with our research. And last I saw him, he had this massive drone and he was about to fly it over where we have our seals and do some aerial photography of our seals, which just sounds like a dream job to me. So make sure you tune into that. He's very interesting. He's got so much knowledge. And we'll be having a bit of a Q&A session with him on Saturday night. And I'm pretty excited to watch the musicians afterwards. Felix from the Cat Empire, Alice Guy, and the Orb Weavers will all be having a bit of a show on Saturday night. So tune into that after our live stream. It's going to be a fantastic night. Penguins and music, and just a great night all around. What more could you ask for on a Saturday night evening? And these penguins are still coming in large numbers, which is just fantastic to see. So make sure you throw in a guess in the comments of how many penguins you think might come home tonight. Now, make sure you add a few more than you've already counted tonight, because there will be more penguins coming in after we shut down the stream. The numbers are starting to reduce in size. As you can see, that next group that's right there on the rocks is quite a bit smaller than our first few groups. So we get some few more penguins coming home tonight. But it is time to wrap up, because our penguins are starting to wrap up as well. The vast majority of them have already made it home, or part way home, I should say. And as you can see, they're just stopping off at the pub here on these resting rocks, socializing, preening themselves, making sure that they look great, making sure they're all oiled up, doing all of that self-care that they need to do. And I recommend you guys do at home as well. And yeah, we might leave it here with our penguins. I want to thank you so much for tuning in again tonight. It's been an absolutely fantastic evening with the penguins, and thanks for tuning in. Have a great night. Bye.
Good night.